Wonderful man.
Thank you. You cannot get over how friendly everybody is. It's almost like in England, those who are from England, the north of England, where Coronation Street is made, is known to be more friendly. And everyone in Canada seems to be the same. Really, really friendly.
We're all from the north of England.
And you've been to Canada before, haven't you?
Only to St. John's, Newfoundland.
Oh.
St. John's. But welcome, and you've had some really exciting moments here.
Well, we met the Prime Minister in Ottawa. Depends on your politics, doesn't it? I'll tell you this, he's a man of good taste, because he likes Coronation Street.
Exactly. Wouldn't believe him.
No, it's been lovely. Apart from this horrible bug, which I will get rid of, I will. I just had a... What?
And thanks for sharing it, by the way.
Oh, no, he started with a cop. I've just had a really wonderful time. I just want to say a couple of things. One, when Coronation Street started in 1960, there was no such thing as a soap. A soap was an extended commercial, you know, a soap powder commercial, little story with mother and child and father and thing, and they became like a little series. So it's a sort of derogatory term. When we started in 1960, it was the beginning of the new wave of realism, sweeping through the theatre. In films, it was Marlon Brando and James Dean. Theatre, it was John Osborne in Look Back in Anger. And on television, it was Coronation Street with the gritty kitchen sink drama. So we were highly respected cutting drama. And I've always fought the title soap, but I have to accept now that is what we are. Massive memorial service for Betty, and Bill Kenwright, who plays her son, comes into the show. And there is a really, really good send-off, because she was such a lovely character, and we all miss her very much. She was a very beautiful person, Betty Driver. 92, she was still working well. So we all miss her very much. She looks so great! Well, not a lot. I think the hair, a lot of people think it's a wig, and people write to me saying, how do you highlight the hair? I've never had a highlight in my life. I'm just going grey uniformly, so it's getting lighter.
You weren't going to talk about your hair.
Yeah. I don't exercise very much. I'm sort of vegetarian. I used to smoke and drink in the 60s. I did my bit for England. But I don't now. I neither smoke nor drink now. And I just lead everything in moderation. So I think it's largely up to the genes, so long as you don't violate them too much. But thank you for your comment. My favourite characters on the street, yeah. Well, in the early days, it was dear old Albert Tatler.
Oh.
He was a little potato man. And most of the characters in those days were eccentric and were different. And he was just lovely. He was a really good actor. But if you said anything nice to Jack, he'd cry. And when they wanted him on This Is Your Life, he said, I'm not going on This Is Your Life. You know, I'd be crying all the time. Anyway, they did. We cornered him and we made him go on it, but he was all right. But he was a lovely guy. But he used to like telling naughty jokes. And he'd always get them wrong. So we used to tell Jack a joke at the beginning of the week, and he couldn't remember who told it to him. By the end of the week, he'd go, hey, Bill, have you heard this one? And he'd tell it to me, and he'd get it wrong, and we'd all fall about laughing because he got it wrong. I'll give you an example. It is slightly rude, but I hope you bear with me. There was a pirate ship, and a British ship comes alongside, and the officer on the British ship shouts through the megaphone, "Where are your buccaneers?" The pirate ship shouts back, "On either side of my head, where do you think?" Oh. That's how just doing a new pilot for a new television series in America. And as you know, he's in Law and Order for 2 years. He played Batman's father and Batman. He's done it all. But to get them both to come onto the street, and my young son James is only just starting out, was wonderful. Linus could only get 2 weeks, unfortunately. To get a story going on the street, you really need a 3 or 4 week build-up. So we only had 2 weeks, and it never really got a chance to take off. But it was lovely. We worked together at home, went in together, worked together, and I had a blissful 2 weeks doing that. It was really, really nice. But Linus couldn't get over the speed with which we worked. The first scene we had was a 3-page scene, sitting in the Rovers, opposite each other on a table, no movement. So we were called on set. There were no moves to be given. The director said, just quietly do your words, we quietly did the words. So he put the boom and the camera right. I said, okay, we can go for it if you like. We worked on it at home. So we went for it. He said, I think that's great, okay. Within 10 minutes, we were in and out, having done a 3-page scene. And Linus said, I don't believe it, the speed with which you work. Often it gets a really good result that way. They can do pickups, they can do retakes, but by and large, that first take is usually the best if you can get it right. But yeah, having Linus and James working with me was wonderful. And then you might do a couple of retakes. In fact, whenever Anna and myself have a scene and there's food, we always say, can we have scrambled eggs? Because I like scrambled eggs. And often the scene's finished and everybody's gone, but we stay there finishing our scrambled eggs. Betty's hot pot was okay, it was edible, but nothing special like Betty's hot pot was supposed to be. And I was dropping my little girl off at school, and a mother with her daughter came over and she grabbed hold of the daughter saying, don't go near that man. And she was really, really upset. About 2 years later, she came up to me and she said, you know, when you were having an affair in Coronation Street, my husband was doing exactly the same thing. But she said, I can tell you this, that through watching you and what happened, it helped me to come to terms with what happened to me, and I want to thank you. So it was a nice follow-up. You see, Coronation Street is a very moral show. I say that, and yet we have serial killers, rapists, murders, you name it, but you always pay the price. You always pay the price. So in that sense, I did that. But generally, I get nicely received. Ken's an amiable sort of guy. But if you're doing a particular story that somebody doesn't like, they might have a bit of a go at you. But that's the only time I've actually had anything like that happen. Well, thank you for showing such enthusiasm and doing it so beautifully. How many are you in the Red Hat group?
There's about 20 in their group.
Good.
Are you sorry you're missing the Coronation Street musical tonight?
Oh, the Coronation musical. Yes, they've written this musical, and it was part of the celebrations of the 50th anniversary. I can't sing, but...
Sometimes the show is quite humorous, and other times that humor is not there. Do the writers change very frequently?
We have 14 writers, and the system is they together will generate a story like... you know, Tracy will murder somebody and Ken will go off on a barge and these sort of things. They create the story. It's a hand individually to pour the dialogue in. So they're connected to the overall creation of the story, and no one writer is overtaxed in what he puts in. The humour has to come from the story, although, as I said, you can get serious stories which you can get the humour in. Some writers are better at that than the others. I don't know what happens sometimes. We feel it too, that you get long periods where it's all a bit turgid. There's none of the good old Coronation Street humour there. I think anything goes through phases like that. But there are 14 writers, and they're very, very good. And the load is equally spread, so no one gets overstrained. I think the producer is the one who makes the decision on what should be. But each individual writer, given a serious situation, some of them are very good at putting the bits of comedy in, more so than others, and maybe they should look at that a bit more. That's a tricky one. I think little Alan Halsall, who plays, you know, the mechanic. He's a lovely guy. He's always bubbling over with humour and everything. And he's got a tremendous sense of humour. Did you mean Adam Rickett?
Yeah.
Adam Rickett? Oh, no, sorry.